Hey guys, it's Corey and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Borderlands 3 and some of the things that I'd like to see before the game's actually released. The things I'm going to talk about in this video are some of the things that I hope they cover at E3 when the game's actually announced properly. If not, then I'm hoping that it's covered on Twitter or in some form of interview. So let's head straight into the video. The first thing that I want to talk about is some of the character abilities that might come into Borderlands 3. I really don't want there to be any characters that have the same abilities as previous games. This sort of happened with Roland and Axton from Borderlands 2. It just ends up offering boring and stale gameplay. This actually worked against Axton in Borderlands 2, as now he's one of the most underpowered characters. He's very difficult to play in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and it's ruined a pretty decent character. In all honesty, I'd like to see more characters that sort of summon a character or an ally to help them in fight. I really like playing Gage, I do actually like playing Axton. I know Wilhelm in Borderlands the pre-sequel had Wolf and Saint, and they were really cool to use, so they are one of my sort of favourite characters to play as. I just hope that there isn't any rehashed abilities in the game. So the second thing I'm going to be talking about is some of the loot that might appear in Borderlands 3. To be fair, I just kind of want it to be like Borderlands 2, but maybe with some changes to the weapon balancing and some of the actual abilities of the weapons. A thing that could be improved is the E-Tech weapons that appeared in Borderlands 2. A lot of those, especially the endgame E-Techs, didn't provide enough DPS to actually be viable to use. I know the splat guns were pretty good with specific builds, but a lot of the things like the spiker pistols or the railgun snipers didn't actually do enough damage to be used against any of the enemies in the game. This can get pretty annoying at endgame because once you're trying to farm for different types of weapons and E-Techs come up, usually they're just a throwaway weapon. That is, unless they're a splat gun or a plasma caster. They're usually the ones that are pretty decent, and they're the ones that are usually kept. So the bottom line is, more usable weapons in Borderlands 3. So the third and last thing I'm going to be talking about in this video is some of the bigger bosses that I want to see in Borderlands 3. I know in Borderlands 2, the Warrior and the Son of Chromrax were really well done big bosses. They're the kind of bosses that I want to see in Borderlands 3. Whether that be a huge colossal spider-like creature that you fight in an arena or something like that, it'd be really cool. I can almost see it now with a spider-like creature crawling down the sides of a big arena wall and you're having to face off against it. They could even introduce a multi-stage approach to the bosses where you get the boss to a certain amount of health and then it runs away and you have to try and track it down to finish the job. This would be pretty cool if done well. They could even do it across certain gameplay areas or certain activities. They could even have an end game challenge where you try and kill the boss in a certain amount of time and it goes up onto a leaderboard. This would be really cool for the co-op play of Borderlands because you'd be able to see who the best people were in the game and who had the fastest time. To be fair, I think there's a few drawbacks that come with this last one. The first being that certain areas wouldn't be able to have as many mini bosses or different areas within them that sort of have enemies. If you had one big arena that then led down like a cave or a tunnel, you'd only be able to have a certain amount of enemies between you and the boss. The last thing that you'd want to do is stop there from being mini bosses and different things like that within the areas. These are some of the things that build up the areas in Borderlands and make them so good. This is why you couldn't really have these multi-stage bosses. But I think in some instances, maybe in a small DLC or a headhunter pack, they'd be really cool to see. Just to see how Gearbox and 2K would actually do this sort of thing. It would be kind of like taking a note from Dark Souls' book, but to be fair, it'd have its own spin on it because it's Gearbox and it's Borderlands. They'd make it totally unique to them and make sure that it's fresh and new. So to recap, Gearbox, if you're listening, keep the abilities new, keep them fresh, and make sure they're actually usable at endgame. For the loot, carry on where you left off with Borderlands 2. Maybe think of introducing some new types of weapons, but keep the formula the same. Keep the weapons as good as they are. There just needs to be some balancing changes and damage changes to make all the weapons in the game pretty viable in some build or some form. That's what makes the game good. There's variety. Nobody wants to be playing the same builds as every other person in the game. Everybody wants to be different. Everybody wants to be able to do their own thing. And last but not least, we want some of the enemies in the game to be a bit more diverse. We want big enemies, small enemies, a load of just different things, whether that be humanoid enemies or monster enemies or creature enemies, just different things to fight. The whole point in Borderlands is killing things and getting loot. and it can get pretty stale if all the enemies are either humanoid or all the enemies are creatures. It's just we want a decent bit of variety in the game. Just something so we can go from one thing to another and not have to think, oh well, this is what I was doing before. It'd be cool to have boss specific drops that somehow tie into the actual character that you're killing, kind of like how Destiny did with their strike specific loot. If Gearbox could do something like this, it'd add a lot of replayability to the game. So I'm going to end the video here, guys. So what are your thoughts about Borderlands 3? What would you like to see in the game? If you like my content, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button and also like this video. There's also a link to my Instagram down in the description box below, so if you want to hit follow on that, this is where I post video updates on how I'm coming along with the next video, and you'll be able to see when the video's live. So just a quick update for anybody who's wondering, I'm using this different narration just to see what's better for making videos and which I enjoy more. To be fair, I kind of enjoy making videos like this rather than my more monotone voice in the first two videos. I'm going to see how it goes, but if you guys prefer the other videos, then let me know. But anyway guys, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.